To say my 2023 herping video output was a bit slack would be an understatement. It was a super busy year, working on so many projects, meaning I spent far less time than I would have liked to looking for amphibians and reptiles. But here's a roundup of what I did see. I did make a mistake in the initial upload of this video, and it's taken me a fair while to get round to fixing and re-uploading it. And at the beginning of the year, I did say to myself I'd like to try and find all 3 native newt species, all 3 native snakes, and all 3 native lizards. I did see a good few snakes in the river, but only had one attempt at finding our rarest species, the smooth snake, without any joy. When it comes to newts, I did get to see 3 species, and also got to see 3 types of lizard, which may sound like semi-success, but I didn't actually reach any of my goals, as a couple of non-native species crashed the party. Kicking the year off, I went with Jack in search of our rarest newt, the great crested, which proved relatively simple to find, although technically I didn't find this one. At a fairly local spot to us, I noticed a couple of crows pecking at something. I took a closer look, and this is what they'd caught. This is a protected species, and it's against the law to handle them without a license. That said, I wasn't going to stand by and let these crows kill it, so I chased the crows off and put the newt safely under some logs. There was no sign of any obvious injuries, so hopefully it made a full recovery. In a nearby pond,
yeah, it's great crested,
we saw a good few more, along with the far more common smooth newt. And it was at this location we saw our first non-native, the alpine newt. With great crested and smooth ticked off, that left us just the Palmate newt to find. This species isn't found in the area close to our home, so that gave us a great excuse to head out to Surrey, in search of them, and possibly some reptiles. But sadly, no joy. That said, it wasn't a totally wasted trip. We got to see a wasp spider, rare butterfly, and a good few common lizards. More about them later. Back in London, we found this on the home patch. Jack? Not that is, don't you?
Oh, it's smooth newt.
Feel free. Numbers of this species are dropping locally, so since filming this, we've built several ponds and additional habitat with smooth newts in mind, and initial results are looking good. And we have more projects planned, so hopefully the recovery of this species, along with many others, will continue. It was wonderful to see common toads successfully breed in this pond in East London for the first time in 4 years. For some reason I didn't film much toad footage this year, so I'm shamelessly including this video that my brother shot just over the Welsh border. Common frog! And of course, it's always good to see frogs. You go back where you came from. A visit to Bristol in April gave us the first chance of the year to look for lizards. I remember climbing up here as a kid and finding common lizards. But that was a very long time ago, and I've not seen one here since. I'm not even sure if they're still at this site. What's now found here are these. Wall lizards, an invasive species. Most populations in the UK have French and Italian roots. In June, my brother and myself decided to walk the entire length of the River Lee. I will edit a video of that trip at some point.
Red kite number 3.
But for now, here's the only reptile we saw along the way. A slowworm, the UK's only legless lizard species.
Hello, pretty thing. It's lost its tail fairly recently. They're good chunky size though.
I did see a fair few of them over the course of the year, but as I've featured them so much on this channel, I'll go easy on footage of them in this video.
That's where you were, matey. So off you go.
But I expect that I'll show plenty in future uploads. Here's one more for now, found on a visit to the south coast.
Slowworm by the sea. Back you go, under your rock.
I've lost count of how many common lizards I saw in 2023. The first few out in Essex. And then so many more in Surrey on our last herping trip of the year. Finding this species and slowworms nearby where I grew up is what sparked my love, possibly obsession, with reptiles. And here's another non-native. Some kind of slider, or maybe a yellow belly? If you can tell from this footage, let me know. We headed west in search of the UK's only venomous snake. And were joined by a special guest. Lord Graham of Essex.
Hi folks.
Otherwise known as Naturally Curious UK. Of course the sun disappeared as soon as we arrived on site, but a couple of hours later, conditions turned in our favour, and we managed to see a good few adders. No matter how many times I spot this species, it still gives me a buzz to see them. Few of the snakes that we saw on this day were about to go into shed, so they weren't looking their finest. Cloudy eyes and dull colouring. I did plan to go back to the same location about a month later to get some more shots, but wasn't able to do so. But I can pretty much say for certain that I'll be back here next year to try to film them again. And back on the home patch, did I see any grass snakes? Of course I did.
In the river! I knew I could smell it! There, going across the river.
Wow, it's going up.
While I didn't do a full local survey in 2023, I can safely say that over the last 2 or 3 years, numbers have increased. It's great to see a good few young ones, alongside individuals that I've recorded before. This one's played dead every time I've found it, and it puts on a fairly dramatic performance, sometimes taking a good 5 minutes before it even moves again. But of course I don't leave it until it's safely back under cover. And the last snake in this video was also the last snake I found this year. 15 miles east of the home patch, It's interesting to see that the majority of grass snakes in this area are slightly shorter and slightly chunkier than the ones I normally see, as well as having a good few scars. This one interestingly has 4 postocular scales on the right hand side, but on the left has the normal 3.
Right, I'm going to put it back. Done?